let's begin this video by um, going back to the era of the 80s, a couple of decades ago. Well, a few decades ago. And it was the era that popularized the cassette radio, aerobics, and leggings and big mullets. All of these things, Grandmama Pirate is all in about. And she loves these things. But curious me fixated himself into disassembling this cassette radio that Grandmama Pirate owns, and I wanted to see how it works. And when I disassembled it, I actually found out how it works. I still could remember how and where the gear should go to, how the tape goes all over the place, etc., etc., etc. Well, I was able to, well, thankfully, assemble it back into place, and I was able to make it work once again, to my surprise. But then, to also my surprise, I found that there's this L-shaped metal piece lying on the floor. You can imagine the horror in my eyes and all of the different things that Grandmama Pirate would subject me into, the different tortures that she's capable of. So I'm really, really frightened. I'm clinging to my life. So I scrambled to put it back together again. But alas, Grandmama Pirate found out. And suffice to say, that radio was never the same, and so is my tooth. But nevertheless, what lesson it taught me is that sometimes you can put things back together again, and it may not work completely. It may work to a certain degree, but may not work completely, like that radio. Actually, that radio, you keep pressing the stop button and it just won't stop, like Grandmama Pirate. But is this the same case when it comes to this Beaufort Fiordland, an amalgam of many different vintage aesthetics, vintage components fused together to create this beautiful piece? I find it a beautiful piece, but maybe not everyone feels the same way, especially when they find out one thing that's missing in this GMT watch. Find out what it is, and is it really a mistake to leave out this piece? For starters, the Fiordland is a well-proportioned, very desirable, and decently affordable watch. You won't have a hard time finding something to appreciate from this New Zealand watch. They wrote in their press kit that this is a brand that focuses on value for money watches and functional aesthetics. I actually support all of that, and I think that after watching this video, you will also agree. This is not a perfect watch though, as some of you have also expressed, but as a whole, it offers many features I don't see often. On my Lilliputian wrist, this 39mm case suits me very well, and these lugs have enough curve and form to really help with the wearability. If you have an extended experience though with microbrands, you will notice that this is the same case being offered by many brands, so you can immediately throw out the idea of uniqueness in that component. It's also a foreshadowing of what you'll notice from the rest of the watch. Beaufort, however, stays true to its motto, and it really focuses on value and function. So, if that meant that they need to use readily available mass-produced parts, they would really do it. This keeps the costs down. I know so because I've done it myself. This caliber is also a good example, as this Miyota 9075 is a reliable, budget-priced caliber with a true GMT complication. Notice here though that there is something missing with this time and date GMT, which will come back a little bit later on in this review. This Tropic strap is also an off-the-shelf component, reducing the production cost, but you will have to live without the quick-release spring bars. That's okay. Take for example this Tempomat case-fitting rubber strap. It also has no quick-release spring bars, and yet it still found its way onto this case. You know, like Uncle Grey Patch and your rum stash. Don't invite him for dinner, please. This is a good example of what microbrands bring to the value angle of the argument. Since you're saving all of this money, you can use that to buy other straps to change the impression of your watch. While this Tempomat strap will set you back a good quarter or two, an even cheaper NATO may also do the trick. Notice here that the spring bars that I use are the same spring bars that I use from Tempomat, and all I needed to do is snap on this NATO strap. In this setup, the watch itself elevates the strap, keeping the focus onto itself. A perfect companion for Grandmama Pirate's wooden spatula prosthetic. Now, if you really want to elevate that whole strap situation, an Artem sailcloth strap will always do the trick. This not only provides the subtle tonal balance to the watch, but it also delivers a texture that gives the watch an added character. However, I think the best setup for the Fiordland is its own beads of rice bracelet. It's got that vintage appeal, the robust construction, and it really takes advantage of that overall case design. It's also got this beautiful perlage decoration on the bridges, and the trigger action for the butterfly clasp is as crisp and reliable, much like good old grandma's pirate slap on the cheek. I also love how it integrates into the case. It really completes the look so much that you will be excused to think that this came from a company half a century ago. Underneath the band is the quick release spring bars that really begs the question, why wasn't this included on the Tropic strap as well? Well, I suspect it really is a cost cutting solution, but I'm happy that it's present here where it counts. Also, a big help is that there is a sort of a ledge on the end link to help you guide the bars into the holes. Of course, the moment I say that, I would immediately fumble the reconnection process, but it's quickly saved with a quick resnap. With all of that out of the way, we can truly agree with the mission statement of the brand where the value proposition is their main driving focus. Now, let's divert our attention to the aesthetic cues of the Fiordland as it borrows a number of them from iconic timepieces years ago. First, the obvious take is the pole router inner bezel. This is heavily characterized with its serrated track and that prominent trapezoid index. This bezel makes the dial smaller for better or for worse. This is likely the most divisive part of the watch, but I'm pretty okay with how it turned out. Another aspect here is the sector lines. These quadrants, of course, align with the quarter markers, but it's also a bold identifier of sector dials. Another thing that the Fiordland adopts is the sector track for the hour markers. These are connected together with a prominent line separating it from the rest of the outer dial. This example from Longines clears out the middle for visual relief, and then it pushes out all of the interest using these numerals and even the subdial. Lastly, we can see the bezel that is a very familiar take coming from the Rolex Explorer 2 1655, the Steve McQueen Explorer. These have the thin 24-hour numerals all around it, and that is separated by baton lines for the odd numbers. The change here is that these are all filled with loom paint from Beaufort. You obviously know that this is an homage, but yet it feels different with this one change that they made. And finally, the bezel is brushed outward from the center, creating this gorgeous sunburst finish. This is a fantastic part that Beaufort applies evenly, making a solid selling point for the watch. As much as Grandmama Pirate nags about me being an online salesman for these watches, you're all smart enough to form your own opinions during the unboxing video. IR Guy subtly corrects me and says that it's a great and original watch. The bracelet link is actually 11 links, not 9. So thanks for telling all 17 of my audience that I don't know how to count. The Choller Dude agrees and that even the strap is beautiful. Andra Jeftovich drops some truth bombs and advises not to be confused with Beaucroft, another microbrand, and that both actually make some beautiful dials. And finally, CCU, however, keeps it real by remarking that it's actually ugly and that the dial doesn't go along with the bezel, and that the only saving grace for this watch is actually the bracelet. There are quite a number of small details to look at, even though it's heavily influenced by many iconic watches. From the outside, you could clearly see that great care is applied at keeping the finishing consistent. I love the bezel no matter what angle you look at it, and I know for a fact that it's more challenging to apply this finish because of its directional nature and not merely a matter of throwing this into a sanding wheel. From the sides, there is a subtle chamfer, creating this small visual interest along with the sandblasted crown. The bracelet wins in the articulation department, even though it felt a little neglected with the lack of polished surface. They treated the butterfly class differently though, as this exhibits these perlage decorations, a cool touch that elevates the timepiece. The case back tries to hold its own with all of these engravings, but the rotor kinda disappoints as it still uses this stock winding mass when others offer a bit more with their own carvings and design. All of that makes for an interesting and well rounded watch, even though it kind of feels that it's missing something that we tend to expect, especially for GMT watches. I love wide open spaces where my eye can freely wander to take in all of the details of the dial. obstruction, or in this case, distraction from enjoying the three different textures here. As far as sector dials go, the areas are separated not by markings for the hours and minutes alone, but also the surface treatment. And after you've taken all of that in, your attention will then jump towards the auxiliary details such as the branding, the quadrant lines, and even the hands. And this is where many will find it somewhat incomplete. It skipped the date window altogether. It felt off that it lacked this feature, despite my strong support for simpler dials. GMT watches are perceived to be a precision and specific tool, and this typically is accompanied by more numerals and markings. But in a way, that's why sector dials exist, because it ensures that the sectors and separators take the place of the labels themselves. But for GMT watches, I kind of want to have the date window in there. It feels correct, it feels natural to check up on these things while we travel, which is the very purpose of a GMT watch. I know we live in a time where electronics rule the sea and air, much like Grandmama Pirate and her aerobics regiment, so there's practically no use for a GMT watch in the first place. But we love our watches not just to look good, but we want it to be as complete as possible as well. Yes, I'm one of those guys who are guilty of really not using my watch's date window to, remind me of what date it is. But it also reminds me of something that should have been there that's now I'm sorely missing. That's the Beaufort Fiordland. Fiordland. I'm really having issues pronouncing these names, but I think it's a well done vintage style watch. It has all of the different quirks that many vintage style watches possess, but now fused together into this one adorable case. And that dial, guys, that dial is a clear winner. You cannot deny it. There's so much interest in there. There's some functionality, although some are missing, as we already noted, like that date window and also the numerals. But it doesn't bother me. I like it nonetheless. It's the overall feel and impression. It minimizes that dial, but at the same time, it lets you focus on the really great textures that it has. And also, that sector dial is a clear winner. The way they did it is a winner. I don't like it like really pronounced, and those cutouts, those quadrants that are not lined with paint or not lined with ink or whatever is a great touch, because you let the light project those lines and sometimes omit those lines, which is a great and lively feature. I like it.